Hey there, everybody. I've wanted to discuss something that's been weighing on my mind, and it's in regards to these shooters. Three of them in particular, their names being Adam Lanza, Elliot Rogers, and Chris Mercer, who are said to have had autism or Asperger's. And they have my interest because I have autism, and I want to share my own experiences as a person with autism, along with my own thoughts, obviously, in regards to their motives and whatnot, to rehumanize them and put some empathy on what they were going through, because I feel bad for everyone when this shit happens, from, obviously the victims and the families, but also the guys who did it themselves and their parents. They always have to, deal with this shit alone, just kind of in the shock of what happened. Yeah, it's a bit of a shock to say, I want us to empathize with the killers. So let me just put something straight. What they did was wrong, and I in no way condone their action, but we really need to not ignore them. Also, I'd like to kind of put like a mini disclaimer that I'm not an expert, so obviously I could be damned wrong about certain things. And I want to just say that tonally, it's heavy, this topic, but there's going to be some levity because I believe that just being totally somber just kind of has a defeated tone, invoking that we can't change things for the better, and I want us to have some hope that we can change for the things for the better. Then, if we can't eliminate these shootings from happening completely, perhaps we should at least, try to reduce them as much as possible, because otherwise, shit's not going to get any better for anyone involved. The media, I think, just does it wrong. It focuses too much on, the politicking, such as, gun control or medications or whatever. They don't talk about the killer, and I kind of understand that, especially in regards to, Chris Mercer, who was the most recent of the bunch I listed, because they didn't want to validate, his violence, especially to other possibly mentally ill people there, because he himself, mentioned some shooters before, which I'll kind of, mention later. Also, I want to say I'm kind of disappointed in regards to some articles involving autism and the shooters. They all focus on, saying that autistic people don't have a risk of being, violent. It doesn't, make us fucking killbots that will just switch on and inflict, violence and death at a moment's notice. But they don't talk about, the socialization issues and loneliness and whatnot. So even if you can't necessarily sympathize with them, I kind of want to just have you at least sympathize with my own issues and problems, and how I could also be one of these shooters should I've had, the variables just kind of line up and smash that, sanity into pieces and have me crazy and pissed off, seeing, no other final recourse in my matters but to, inflict violence and death. And I'm hoping that with this little podcast / lecture thing I'm doing, we can kind of open up a little bit the much needed discussion involving mental health when it comes to these situations. Right, so in regards to my own memories, I was an odd child. When I was young, I was told that I cried a lot without any rhyme or reason, and I was pretty damn demanding, according to my mom. I also skipped some of those developmental milestones, such as crawling, which, all babies do. I did a commando crawl with my forearms everywhere. When I got older, I was hyper and spazzy, and with very poor impulse control, at whom this meant I'd get spankings by my mom, who was brought up very old-fashioned, was really ignorant of what was wrong with me, because she never heard of this. This is really frustrating for me, since spanking is, a simple operating condition of positive punishment where you do something that's not wanted or liked, and you get a stimuli that isn't pleasurable. However, there was an impasse in regards to that process, as despite my efforts, I could not control myself and learn my lesson. As such, I had these terrible moments of doing stupid things like playing with fire indoors, or creating big messes, and then running like hell with full fear of God in my eyes, trying to avoid paddling for my very tired and vexed mother. In school, my experiences weren't that great either. The teachers couldn't handle me, and I got put in timeouts and all that stuff. I have memories of PE classes where I'd be taken out from play and made to sit next to a cutout of Goofy taped to the wall as punishment for being spazzy and inattentive. Being a child of the 90s, the big dysfunction of the time was ADD, and I would be diagnosed with it and given Ritalin like many other children, and it wouldn't be the last of the medications I'd take. However, my mom wasn't entirely convinced of this and thus kept searching for more answers, and then my psychiatrist, I believe, his psychiatrist, referred me to another guy who would then diagnose me with Asperger's syndromes, which would then involved a lot of giggling at times because it sounds like Asperger's. My life around that era would also have some big changes. My school apparently didn't have, like, the training or whatever to handle kids like me. So without warning, after, like, 3rd grade, I was told I'd be going to a new school. And then I'd also be attending some special ed summer school, too. And it would be there where I'd encounter the short bus and all of those feelings of mortification and utter horror and shame as it became my transport of shame as it pulled into my cul-de-sac and then looped out in front of the entire neighborhood. I remember being confused and having no clue what the hell was going on, and then when I asked when I was going to go back to my actual school, I was given a vague goal and answer that I couldn't, resolve. And it pained me because I really wanted to be back in my real school with people I knew, even though I didn't technically have friends. It would also be a time where my home life fell apart as domestic disputes would increase and lead to a messy divorce. In regards to my journey in special ed, I have mixed feelings, since on one hand it was really cool to see an element inside which normally you don't get to see. Plus I met some cool people, like an ex-caseworker, and one of the bus drivers I had on the short bus was really nice to me, which was good when I was in a very rough spot. Alas, I can't remember the names, and I would really like to kind of give them thanks, because I really needed it at that time. On the other hand, I really hated it. My first school, the way it worked was, I was, for like, I think 4th and 5th grade, which is like 2 years total, just shoved into like one classroom for the entire damn day, and it was boring as hell. And it probably didn't help with my deteriorating social skills as I began to seek solace and shelter with my computer during all this, heavy emotional stuff going on. And I only once tried communicating to my teacher in regards to some home life issues, and the teacher, for whatever reason, didn't take it seriously, which gave me, feelings of betrayal, anger, and despair, and all I can think back is, thanks for not taking me seriously, you cunt. Because it was like the one time I tried speaking up, and it didn't work, after like bottling all these emotions, and it just pissed me off, and it still kind of pisses me off. Anyway, come middle school, my home life was getting better, and I transferred what they call a satellite class, which meant I would actually be integrated with regular classmates and in classrooms. Although I would say that in 5th grade in the previous school, I kind of got a little bit of that exposure outside, but it was only limited to math, which wasn't my strongest area in school, and it has been a source of frustration for me. And I know it's still kind of cool, because there was like a computer, and I was heavily, withdrawing into online stuff, and I would have like a break time, which I really loved, and I would just sit around and just fuck around on the computer and the internet. So it was great. I have fond memories of my teacher buying StarCraft, and I would just be playing online until the school set up some firewall, which prevented me from playing online. And I could also bring my own video games for PC, and that was pretty great too. But still, socially I was floundering, like I said, withdrawing. I had mixed feelings going on, and I was still really silent about my issues. And, like, there'd be stuff like socialization skills stuff, and I remember kind of being annoyed at my teachers because I had to watch my words and think about what's inappropriate and appropriate, and there was something silly involving, like, a Boston Terrier, and I wasn't allowed to call it ugly. And I made some acquaintances, but I was really, really weird about it. Because it was my last, school before I'd go back. So I kind of didn't want to make friends, and also I was, like, in regards to all these negative emotions and whatnot that I've been bottling, I was thinking of just kind of suppressing it and becoming a robot, because it was just getting in the way of my school life, and I didn't have anything else. I just thought that suppressing my emotions would just kind of let me to function better, and, well, I failed, because I made some acquaintances, and I got my own sleepover. It was a Halo LAN party, and that was pretty nice. I was also very self-conscious of my own problems involving academics. I got this weird mental metaphor in my head where every failure of mine, both academically and I guess behavioral, because at that time puberty was kicking in, and it did something weird with my brain chemistry, and it made, like, the drug I was taking not effective anymore, which would make me spazzy and hyperactive, because it was speed, basically. So this mental metaphor was a sword slowly unsheathing with each failure I produced, until it would lop off my head. And I was, like, really mad about not doing better in school, especially with math, for some reason. Like, one time, or maybe another time, I managed to get on honor roll, which is really, really nice for me, because it gave me, an achievement, a point of joy for me during a relatively, difficult period. Also, it gave you a really nice, like, breakfast with, like, orange juice and, better snacks and treats than regular cafeteria food. Come high school, it was actually one of the worst experiences in my schooling. Like, I just came out straight from, I think, 5 years of pure special ed, and now I was, going to be with my normal peers. However, I still didn't talk about my issues, and it just weighed and ground upon me, and I just got engulfed by a deep sadness and bitter anger. I was on my last legs, and then those hormones during puberty, they finished off what was left. They say being a teenager is rough because you got all these chemicals bombarding your brain. It was hell mode for me. I became a fucking cringelord during that time. I mean, everyone has those awkward moments as a teenager, but no, mine just kind of feels like it takes the cake. I ceased basically giving a fuck, and I just went full autopilot. And there was like a weird duality of sorts with me, where I was struggling to become social, but on the other hand, I was so used to being alone that I didn't care. And what this led me to do was just kind of half-assing my attempts to, go out and talk to people, and I was like joining a bunch of clubs, but never really getting in deep, kind of half-assing those school dances that they give you, too. And the end result was that it didn't leave me very satisfied. Also, personality-wise, I had like this mask. I was kind of like a goofball who was just kind of acting out and being a smartass. But at home, I was completely alone and just withdrawn, just content to fuck around on my computer and play video games, and yeah, I was really apathetic about everything. And in school, I was kind of bullied a bit. There was this one girl who gave me shit for the way I dressed, which thankfully didn't really escalate, but I'd also just start acting out, and it got me a little bit infamous, because it would abuse the other students, and maybe just horrifying them, and I just became, like, that crazy kid in school, which probably didn't do wonders to me. But on the other hand, I didn't care, because I had no friends. I would eventually get kicked out from high school for, like, a semester, after just kind of slowly escalating my expulsions and detentions, until they labeled that I was a danger to myself and others, which meant I'd go to another school for like one semester in sophomore year. After that, for some reason, I just kind of calmed down and everything went smooth, and I got like a babysitter. It's what they call an aide, but that's basically what it was. I would think it would be embarrassing to anyone with that kind of happening, but at that time, I stopped caring what they thought. So I kind of had fun with it, just like a sidekick with commentary and all that stuff. I had previous aides before, but they were all like students, and I kind of gave them a lot of shit. Like, I was assigned some blonde high schooler who was, kind of attractive, and I just gave her a lot of shit. And I was just basically like that one kid in that viral video who goes, "It's a meme, you dip." Just that teenage cringe master, dipshit, going on full edgelord at times. But yeah, I'd graduate, which was pretty damn surprising, since I just got really tunnel vision with just all this shit going on. So it was like a bit of a surprise, and it was pretty bittersweet, because on the one hand, I made it, I graduated, but on the other hand, high school really sucked for me. So then I run into a new problem with this saga, and that is, I have to go to college. My father expected me to go to college and, find a career. And that's great, but the punchline is, with that tunnel vision, I was left with no skills whatsoever, because I didn't pay attention to those classes that taught me, how to be organized and all that stuff, and he really didn't enforce that. He didn't get on my case, which I kind of needed to. Nor did I, learn any proper socialization skills, so I was pretty fucking lonely and bad at talking to people, beyond, the bare minimums. So, this is gonna be fun. Anyway, I'm gonna just cut this off and make a part 2 to this, because I really don't want to go, over 15 minutes, and I already kind of am.
It's your boy Kanye West on the beat.
Gee, babe, what do you want to do tonight?
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Yes.
The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. The laboratory mice, the genes have been spliced. The Pinky and the Brain.
It's what you all been waiting for, ain't it? For my theme song, my leather black jeans on, my by any means on, and I'm getting my scream on. Into the kingdom, we're watching you bring home.
By the dawning of the sun, they'll take over the world.
Middle America packed in, they see me in my black skin. Number one question they asking,
Where are we gonna find rubber pants outside?
stop all that tune shit, early morning cartoon shit. This is that goon shit, fuck up your whole afternoon shit. I'm around the mouse, soon as the moon hit, I'm aware I'm a king.
I have put up with this bullshit for too long.
The war each night is done, and man will be unfurled by the dawning of the sun. He'll take over the world. The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain.
Got it, bitch.
Twilight can reign. It's easy to explain. To prove their mousy worth, they'll overthrow the earth. The Pinky and the Brain. Brain, 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 brain.